Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. We are on the compound that hosts the paper-based bookshop Full Bloom, as well as the Bocas Litfest. We're very happy to have a conversation with Nicholas Laughlin, who is the festival and program director of the NGC Bocas Litfest, which is on from April 25 to 28. Nicholas, thank you for making the time. I know it's getting close, so head might be a little hot. But I think sometimes when the festival is coming around, there may be people asking, who is this festival for? Because the word literary sometimes could be a little intimidating. So who is the festival for?
Thanks for having this conversation with me. The festival, we like to say, is for everybody. So, when people think about a literary festival, they probably think about novels, poetry, that sort of thing. And we certainly have a lot of that in the program, and a lot of really incredible writers from around the Caribbean, around the world, from Trinidad and Tobago, who are literary writers. But we also think of ourselves really as a festival of words, stories, and ideas, right, in the broadest sense. So sometimes stories don't come in the form of novels or poems. They may come in the form of calypso. They may come in the form of music, drama, performance. And we have writers who write every kind of book you can imagine. So books that are biographies, that are memoirs, books about sport, books about culture, books about current affairs, about history. So the festival really is for anybody who has an interest in good conversation, interesting ideas, even if they don't think of themselves as a reader or a literary reader. There's going to be something in the program that will appeal to them.
And I like where we are right now in this conversation. So let me ask another question that some people may find almost like a full toss for you to hit out of the park. Who are some of the writers that you try to attract? Because I think there's also a developmental aspect to the festival.
Yeah, well, from the beginning, we've always thought of ourselves as a festival that has a very specific Caribbean focus. And the thing is, Caribbean literature is already a global literature, right? Our writers are everywhere in the world. There's a strong literary diaspora. So the writers who come to the festival, who may have roots in the Caribbean or ancestry or some kind of thematic interest in the Caribbean, actually come from everywhere. So, I mean, it's hard to single out specific authors every year from our list, but we have some very heavy-hitting names this year, authors who could headline a festival anywhere in the world. So we're really thrilled, for instance, that for the first time we are hosting Edwidge Danticat, the Haitian-American writer, Dion Brand, who's a Trinidad-born writer based in Toronto, who is one of the best writers at work in the world anywhere. And every October, I wait to see if she's going to win the Nobel Prize that year, because that's her caliber. We're very excited that we have a writer who's coming to us all the way from Delhi, Gitanjali Shree, who was a recent winner of the International Booker Prize, major international award, her first time in the Caribbean. So, I mean, that is the kind of the caliber of writer that comes to Bocas, because thankfully, after 14 years, we have a kind of reputation where these kinds of writers want to come to us. But from the beginning, it's always been important to us that we're a festival for writers at all levels. So a lot of festivals around the world, you go there and you'll see like major prize winners, Nobel Prize winners, whatever, and they appear on stage and then they disappear. But we exist to sort of draw talent out. We really believe there's lots of people in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean with literary talent, whether they've started exploring it or not. So from the beginning, we've made room for writers at a very early stage of their career. Maybe they've published their first book. Maybe they haven't even published a book as yet. Maybe they're just avid readers who've always thought about writing and never put anything down on paper as yet. So that is something I think that distinguishes our festival. So just as an example, during the festival, we run a workshop series where writers of any level can come and improve their craft, working with facilitators who come in from around the world. We have a special new talent showcase where we kind of pick writers who we think are going to be some of the names to watch in the future. None of them has published a book as yet, but we still want to give them a chance to be platformed. And we're actually running a program this year called the Bocas Breakthrough Fellowships, where we put out a call last year to writers across the Caribbean, and out of something like 120 applicants, chose 5 writers who are working on their first books. And we really feel confident that these are books that are going to be finished and published and successful, that we're all going to be reading them in the next 3 to 4 years. And so we're doing a special showcase of those fellows as part of the festival as well. Plus, one of the best ways if you're a budding writer and you just want to kind of get yourself out there and see if anybody's interested in what you're doing, we do an open mic, which we call Stand and Deliver, which runs every day of the festival. I think it's nearly full because you have to sign up for it in advance, like most open mics. There may be a few slots left, but that's a place where any writer of any age, writing anything in any style, can come and they can share their work and they can see how it goes over with the audience. And over the years, we've seen writers who've come literally and read their first thing at the open mic and advanced through all the stages to the point where they have a book published and they're now appearing in the program as a published author.
I think that is important for more than one reason. Even though there's certain things that are so much more possible remotely, so you don't necessarily need to be in a physical space to get certain things done, I think sometimes we don't necessarily see as many opportunities for development. So we go to another jurisdiction where we say, okay, well, there are more opportunities. I'm just trying to imagine, and my paws are raising, as you can see here, thinking about someone who is able to fellowship network with one of these new writers, the person who has this story that they're now starting to give birth to, and tell them how it was like for them, and the importance and the significance that the Bocas Litfest would have had for them in terms of helping kind of take them through pieces a little bit and just show that they're not necessarily alone in some of the things that they're trying to work out with, and just being able to meet some of these heavy hitters who it might be a little intimidating. Wait, I go in and try to show my work there as well. But I think it's something that is really significant. But even looking at that level of development, how important or how significant is it that you have corporate entities that are willing to invest in this sort of initiative? Because I think sometimes people may just want to kind of throw money, but it feels very different as opposed to say, well, here, take this and go. It feels very different to what NGC is doing in terms of like saying, okay, well, this is an investment in us. What is it from your take?
Well, as you know, NGC, the National Gas Company, is our title sponsor. So yes, they do give us money. It makes it possible to run the festival. But I think, and NGC says this all the time, so whenever a representative of NGC speaks at the festival, speaks to the press or whatever, they always make the point that it's not just giving money for the sake of creating entertainment for people. I mean, I hope the festival is entertaining, but NGC sees it just as we do it as an investment. I mean, we have to remember that books, literature, publishing in the broadest sense, it is an incredibly big industry on a global scale. It's pretty underdeveloped in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. We don't have many commercial publishing houses here. There are lots of reasons for that, which I won't go into. A lot of it has to do with scale, the fact that it's a business that requires a mass audience to operate profitably. But with the support of NGC and our other sponsors, what we've tried to do is, we do the festival every year, and it's a big showcase and platform for our writers, our literary talent, publishers, editors, festival curators from around the world come to the festival to seek out new talent. In that way, it's almost like a kind of a trade show. It's like a trade expo for the literary profession. But we also work year-round outside the festival to kind of promote our writers and develop our writers, which includes international promotion. So, we've worked very hard for the last 14 years to build up a network of allies, supporters, collaborators around the world. We've done events with writers in multiple countries. 2 years ago, we did a Bocas UK tour, for instance, where we did, 5 events. We took taking writers on a tour across Britain. That's just one example. We've worked with many international festivals. We've worked with international publishers. So yeah, I mean, what I would always say is, the reason I'm doing this is I just love reading, right? So for me, it's that very kind of personal reading. I like books. I like being around writers. I like reading. But I also recognize that it's, as we continue to talk, as we've talked for many years about diversifying our economy, we talk about the creative industries. I just want to make sure that, literature and publishing don't get left out. Music is very profitable, films are very profitable, fashion can be very profitable. But honestly, if you look at it on a global scale and the actual numbers, publishing books in its various formats, whether it's on paper, ebooks, whatever, is still the most profitable. And I think that's something that NGC understands, and so they give us the support. They're pushing us that way. We understand it, so we're constantly trying to come up with projects and programs that, that do that kind of developmental work.
And with that, we want to thank you very much, Nicholas Laughlin, Festival and Program Director. Remember, it's hashtag Bocas 2024, talking about the NGC Bocas Litfest, which is on from April 25 to 28. When we come back, we're going to be changing gears a little bit, but I'm not telling you what it is yet, so you need to stick and stay to find out. Welcome back. The First Citizens National Poetry Slam is getting inexorably closer, and let us call it by the entire name, as in First Citizens National Poetry Slam of Legends. Enter the dragon's mouth. Hello. We are here to find out all about it with the Youth and Hospitality Manager, Marielle Forbes. Marielle, thank you for making the time. And the initial number, how many people tried out for it were in the preliminaries?
We had over 80 poets audition, Dike, which is a number that is pretty consistent with what we've seen in the past. It's grown, of course, and we're very happy and grateful for that. But over 80 participants auditioned for the Grand Slam this year.
And what has the judging panel been like thus far? Because 80 people, and then to whittle it down to those semi-finalists even before you go to the finalists. So what are some of the, is it feedback, or what are some of the things that they had to go through?
Well, first of all, we really do take our time in selecting a panel of judges. So we want people who are familiar with theater, writing, music, performance. So we've had judges such as playwright Victor Edwards. We've had writer and performer, actress Patian Ali. We'd have Calypsonian Karen Ashe. We've had spoken word performer and comedian as well, Kwame Weeks. We've had a vast, what do you call it?
That's a rafter
yeah, and of course, they are all led by our head judge, Ms. Marielle John. So we really do take our time in order to get a great spread of judges across the board. And the feedback so far has been, I would say, impressed. One judge even, Nikolai Salcedo, said that he's been inspired by the poets. He was a semi-finalist and he's now a finalist judge as well. So it's a bit of teacher looking at the students and teacher also being inspired by the students.
Well, I want to see if somebody gonna say, hey, Nikolai, that's my lyric you're using your tune there, So I guess we'll look out for it. But is there a certain kind of feel that they're looking for? What are some of the, I don't know if to ask about judging criteria, but are there themes that you see reoccurring or people addressing in the slate of contestants this year?
Well, the theme of the championship is Enter the Dragon's Mouth, but the poets are not limited to create pieces around that. So usually, we always get pieces that, focus on politics and social issues. So we have quite a few pieces, or we've had quite a few pieces about that. And we also have personal pieces from poets themselves about their lives, their experiences, things that make them happy, things that upset them. And it's a great way to encourage them to, it's therapy, It's therapy for a lot of them.
And so 100 or about 80, a little over 80, moving to 34. How many are in the finals?
15 poets have made it to the finals to compete against our defending champion, Kyle Hernandez. So we are looking forward to that. So actually, as you say, 34, because we came through from auditions to semi-finals. 4 of those poets were wildcards, and a wildcard is a poet who would have just made it to the semifinals, and they're given a chance to go up against each other. And if their scores are good enough, they can make it to the finals. So for the first time in history, we have Mr. Ronaldo Briggs, a wild card from the semifinals. He's now a finalist, and he's one of the 15 poets who'll be competing for that Grand Slam title.
And this is like the grand finale closing of the Bocas Litfest. So I guess there's a lot of pomp, there's a lot of pageantry, splendor going towards it. Do people switch pieces from one stage to the other?
Well, your finals piece is meant to be a piece that has never been performed. So all 16 poets are meant to produce pieces fresh, just out of the oven, brand new pieces, brand spanking new, never heard anywhere before. So basically they debut this particular piece on the Grand Slam stage.
And looking at this level of involvement, do you see some of the performers, contestants in other spaces, do people say that this inspired them to do something else, to go further? What are some of the things you see them doing outside of the competition, if you do?
Well, I know that some of the poets do comedy, because a lot of spoken word, so a lot of the pieces as well are around humor. And in general, it's about having, just this special way with words anyway. So we've seen a lot of them teaching, because they are also lovers of literature, most of them that I've been in contact with. So we have teachers, we have people, doing stand-up comedy and all of that. So we've seen them branch out into different but still connected, career paths.
And how do people get information about it? Or are there things like workshops and stuff where people can say, okay, well, I want to get a little better because I want to try my hand at this. I want to use my turn of phrase. Because I think I have what it takes to literally, I don't know, enter the dragon's mouth, as it were, even going forward. Where do you suggest that they go, in addition to just looking at the website and getting information there?
So typically we have workshops for our slam semi-finalists who want to refine their pieces for their chance to become a finalist. But one thing we're working on, particularly that's youth focused, is having workshops throughout the calendar year for poets who would like to get themselves not just ready for the slam, but to fine-tune their craft.
And that is one of the things that I appreciate about Bocas Litfest. Is not just, okay, well, it's coming up, and it's just this event. As opposed to saying there's a developmental aspect, there is an aspect that allows people to network and fellowship, as it were. Because sometimes, there's the artist's journey, where you need that time by yourself, the way that some people will be able to go into that space, that solitary space, and create. But it's also important that you don't necessarily stay there forever, because it'll be a little interesting places sometimes. But in terms of having a calendar of events through the year that people can look forward to, meet each other, see what everybody else sounding like. I need to sharpen up my chops. I need to work on some of my metaphors. But just in terms of getting information, again, I know it is the 28th of April, which is a Sunday. Where is it, and how do people get onto it in terms of, is it tickets or websites or that sort of information?
So 6 p.m. on Sunday, April 20th at Queen's Hall, after you've enjoyed 3 or 4 full fantastic days of free events at the NGC Bocas Litfest, which happens at Nallis, you can then make your way to Queen's Hall at 6 p.m. Showtime is at 6:30. Tickets cost $200, and they're available at the Queen's Hall box office, at the paper-based bookshop at the Writers Center on Alcazar Street, right here where we are, online via Island e-tickets, and at Extra Foods locations. And you can also visit our website, bocaslitfest.com. You can check out our socials, National Sam TT. We're on Instagram, Facebook, X. We are now on TikTok. A lot of our videos are going viral. You can check us out there. You will see, we have, you know, quite a few followers in a very short period of time. So I guess that's something to clap about. So you can find us on all those social media platforms and you can get your tickets at those locations. They're $200.
Thank you so much, Angie. Just make sure I'm putting that price again so you could put your stuff together to get ready for it. Thank you very much, Marielle Forbes, Youth and Hospitality Manager, and really looking forward to what it is the Grand Slam of Legends looks like this year. This is the first Citizens National Poetry Slam of Legends. Enter the Dragon's Mouth.
That's right. Fire.
And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.